Tonight on The Breakdown, Goldie heads to Fozzie's hood for a sit-down one-on-one with the All Black coach as he names his side for the Bledisloes. We're live to Tokyo to hear from our troops on the ground about just how the games are tracking. And it was like a game of poker at the weekend. Cards, cards, cards. After great debate, we red card the red card.
Kia ora koutou, katoa, hello and welcome to The Breakdown. The All Blacks' July international window has come to a close and the All Blacks delivered again in Hamilton against Fiji. Manu Samoa confirmed they are heading to the 2023 Rugby World Cup, and there was plenty of drama across the Tasman. Just the three of us tonight up here. We'll get to Burnie very, very soon. So John Kerwin, Mills Muliaina. We're all in Hamilton, sold out crowd, JK. I think it was actually a nice way to finish 3 weekends of pretty good action. The All Blacks obviously dominant week one, but 2 good tests against Fiji.
Yeah, Fiji are great. I mean, it's just fantastic, the whole sort of atmosphere as well. But for me, I think it's really, really hard to play 2 weeks in a row against the All Blacks. Mills, get up. I think they got up mentally the first week. Second week, not quite as good as the first week.
Yeah, just to sustain that, really, wasn't it? I mean, they came out of the blocks pretty well. They applied pressure. It was just that moment just before half-time, really. And then, you know, the All Blacks sort of, as Iain Foster mentioned, they stepped it up a couple of notches, whereas Fiji probably only won.
Oh, let's talk about that. The All Blacks were better, and they've been better through the 3 weeks. JK, for you?
Yeah, it kept improving. I think the intriguing thing for me, once I saw that they were improving, I was looking at, you know, the individuals who are now playing for the 15 test spots. So that's what I'm really interested in. What's the mix going to be? Who played themselves in? Who played themselves out? How does that look? So.
And that was announced this morning at 11 a.m, the new All Black squad. Let's get to Bernardine, and the All Blacks have announced their Rugby Championship squad, and they welcome back, Bern, some major artillery.
Do they what? I tell you what, I'd be happy with this squad. 36, that's the number that Iain Foster has stuck with for his squad, but there are a couple of extras too. I will explain. To the engine room first, 4 hookers and 6 props. But after a barnstorming debut, including 2 tries, hooker Samasoni Tokiahu isn't named, but will remain in camp, as will George Barr. The experienced Joe Moody and Ofa Tuangafasi returning to the propping department. No room for Southland's Ethan de Groot. 125 Test veteran Sam Whitelock will captain the side in Sam Cane's absence as he continues to recover from chest surgery. 7 Lucy's named, Crusader Ethan Blackadder retained. To the backs and creating most of the chat, TJ Perenara. He returns to the squad after a stint in Japan and a public dalliance with League, one we now know that Fozzie wasn't that happy with. He's joined by Smith and Webber. No room for Finlay Christie. A testament to the depth we have at halfback, but the Blues number 9 will also stay on in camp as temporary cover. No surprises at first 5. It's hard in my to Braden Enor, who's back in the midfield after recovering from surgery for appendicitis. Quinn Tupaia also staying put. How good are the outside backs looking? Half of them Crusaders. Expect to see a few of these names playing locally. The All Black management wanting Enor, Moody and Tuangafasi to play NPC footy, and Perenara got to get match fit, but TJ reckons he's ready to go now.
I feel like I'm in a really good condition. I'm looking forward to playing some big minutes and to experiencing that level of footy again. I know I'm not naive to the fact that it is different though, that I have been playing some awesome club footy lately, coming from Japan, playing in a league that's still really, really tough, but a different sort of tough.
Certainly the biggest talking point out of this squad selection. I don't think there are too many surprises. The fact it was always going to be difficult for some of those players to hold out, the likes of a returning Joe Moody, Ofa Tuangafasi. But JK, look, this opportunity that TJ Perenara has been given, look, he wasn't contracted. He got contracted after it finished with Japan. He's come back to New Zealand, 4 club games. He's now back in the All Blacks. Is that contentious for you?
Yeah, and it's got nothing to do with TJ Perenara. I think he's an outstanding player. But we're picking him on now last year's form, and he's coming back from Japan. He looked really light in the photos I've just seen. And so why have we retained Christie?
Well, it's
Is
probably
one of them injured.
Well, at this stage, it looks as though he needs more game time to get himself match fit. They want to maybe get him back into squad, Mills. I mean, the fact of the matter is he'll probably still have to prove some things at NPC level and inside the squad maybe before he gets a run.
Well, absolutely he will have to. And I suppose the biggest thing would be the intensity. He looks like he's lost a lot of weight. So in terms of that, you know, how is that going to fare when you go to sort of the NPC level, C level, because there's a couple of jumps up before you get to test match. So he will have to prove himself. But the coaches have obviously felt, their assessment of him that he warrants this. And when I look at someone like...
But Mills, why don't you just name it the other way around?
Well, that's what I was
Why don't you bring
about to say.
TJ in, keep Christie in and say, we're going to see TJ play at the NPC level. I mean, he's played club footy. Or, I may be a dinosaur, but just bring him back in, give him a dumb club game to keep World Rugby, and then bring him in for this tournament. Or get him to play against the Māori. I don't understand now, because what happens, he's been named and... someone pulls his calf like Dane Coles did last week and he's starting against Australia. Is he ready?
Well, and that's going to be the challenge for TJ Perenara, is he's going to have to prove himself, right? I mean, that's the reality.
Well, no, he's picked in the All Blacks. You prove yourself to get in the All Blacks.
But I think also he's going to have to leapfrog, someone like a Weber,
Yeah.
So, in terms of that, he's obviously the third. If he has to go back and prove himself in NPC...
So why are we keeping Christie?
Well, I think, Christie's there just in case, right? You obviously have to name something in terms of the whole championship. You have to name a squad. Yeah, they feel it's there. If you break it down, right, if we're going to break it down, OK, I think Christie's had a fantastic, last
played well.
weeks. I think and when you look at stuff like that Iain Foster's talking about, the speed and things, he's done everything right. He brings something different to the game. This is a conversation that Iain Foster and the coaches have to have with this young man. He's done everything right. OK, he hasn't been selected, but they're obviously bringing someone else back in. OK, so what does that, in terms of your game analysis? OK, well, perhaps they're the similar sort of way, but what does TJ bring that's going to be different, that's going to be beneficial to the All Blacks, leading into the Bleeders, though, and the Championship? It's probably his leadership.
He brings a vast amount of experience, though. He brings a vast amount of experience into the group.
Look, this has got nothing to do with TJ Perenara. And your argument is completely on point. But what happened to the values of earning the jersey? Full stop for me. Nothing against TJ. Your argument's correct. He's got all the experience and everything. But just keep Christie in there. Say TJ is our fourth, right? And he's going to play NPC. So they're all going to leave and play NPC. Is this for some rule that I don't know, is it?
How do you mean?
Well, are we naming all these players?
Well, essentially, there's a lot of guys who are coming back from injury. We've seen already guys who have come into the international
I get that,
environment.
but they've been playing here, right?
What's that?
They've been playing here.
Yes, they have been playing here. Yep, they have been part of it, and they'll be going out.
And Retallick and Barrett did the same.
Yep.
And they were probably a little bit short of a gallop, right? But that was Fiji. OK, taking a risk against Tonga and Fiji. Now we've got the championship. That's what I'm saying. I'll repeat. TJ Perenara is good enough at this level, but we haven't seen him for a year.
If you look at it like this, OK, Christie's still in there, and that's perhaps what the coaches might be thinking. TJ Perenara comes back. OK, he's the third. OK, TJ's the third, Christie's the fourth. Well, realistically, they're both not going to play. So aren't you better having someone in there with his experience while he's getting himself up to speed, and having Christie also challenge the fact that he might overtake, TJ Perenara. So he probably certainly hasn't earned his spot. He might not play during the championship or the Bleeders, though, but I'd much rather prefer to have him as that leadership, to grow the leadership group, because I think that's probably an area that the All Blacks are possibly, lacking a bit. It's that emphasis of more guys in there who might not necessarily play, but the value of the leadership within the environment, I think that holds, great strength.
For me, I don't disagree, Mills. For me, it's just mixed messaging, that's all. I just don't get it. And like I say, I could be a dinosaur. My kids tell me I am.
I'll have no comment on that, JK. Look, I spoke with Iain Foster today in Hamilton. I asked, with all the challenges of the last 18 months, has it started to feel this season is more like a typical All Black campaign?
Yes, it does. It's because the things that we've planned February, March, April, May are actually starting to happen. So that's nice. We don't want to get too confident about that, though, do we? At the end of the day, it's, we're enjoying the moment and enjoying the tests that are in front of us. But it is nice to actually have a plan and a program and roll through it.
So we're 3 test matches in. Does it seem to you that there seems to be, I suppose, a real synergy with this group? Has it come together quite quickly?
Yeah, really delighted with the synergy. I mean, they're a tight group. They've worked hard on that, and they're playing for each other, and there's a great sort of vibe amongst the squad. I made a comment that some of the skill work on stuff that we're doing is probably the best I've seen in terms of their own ownership and their desire to get better in the spaces. So delighted with the way they've been led, by our leaders at the moment. There's a great feel in it, great camaraderie, and that's kind of been one of our key focuses for this Steinlager series. But the same side is that it is coming together. I think we've seen some nice steps and progress through the Steinlager series, but again, that's just the starting point for what's to come.
So you name a big squad. How do you balance that development of players against getting significant game time on an international stage?
It's not easy, and it's reasonably complex to get it right, and so again we just got to trust our instincts on that. But we've also got to bear in mind that we still live in a COVID world where there's a chance of people getting a cold or a bug later in the week, and if that happens, then they get basically isolated and they can't play a game. So they've got those variables to deal with.
Are you determined maybe this season to get your best combination, a bit more time together in the Test arena?
I think the Bledisloe is vital for us. The Bledisloe Cup is not a series that we go in with a rotation mindset. If you look at last year, we basically it's our key pinnacle event for the year really, and so we went into last year and it became a massive focus. After 3 games, we'd locked the cup away, and it was only after that we started to say, okay, well now we need to use the next few games to rotate and build a bit of a depth. This year we're a little bit further along. This last series we've learned a lot about a wider group, but now we want to get our performance right. And so, I'd expect a lot more continuity and selection through the Bledisloe Cup series, but then, of course, my job is to look a little bit further ahead, and then we've got 4 in a row. So 4 weekends in a row will undoubtedly mean that we're going to have to change some combinations around. So it's an eye for that part as well.
So obviously TJ Perenara comes back into the environment. I mean, what gives you the confidence that he's going to be able to contribute sooner rather than later?
Well, he's done it before. He's been a key leader for us. He's played a lot of Test matches. He went to Japan and we gave him a clear focus on focusing on the speed part of his game. Well, we've got a lot of faith in TJ defensively and how he plays, and if he can just keep that speed of service up, then there's no reason why he can't carry on playing at a top level for us. So, and as an athlete, he's competitive, we know he's fit, and so for him it was a break that we kind of sensed that he probably needed. Talking to him, he's come back massively refreshed. And the other side of the corners, we've got a Finlay Christie's taken his opportunity too. So again, we're building good options in that space.
So you think about the nature of the professional game now, and we've got a number of players who are taking their financial sabbatical. Is that just something that's going to be a part of the future now? The fact you'll get to July and there will be players come back under your radar?
Yeah, it seems to be, doesn't it? It seems to be like on one side of the coin you've got France and England and goodbye forever, versus an option of having a 6-month stint in Japan and then coming back. I guess when you look at the theory of that, the Japan one looks really good for our top players. The niggly part's a reintroduction, like how do you get them back in? And so, and contractually New Zealand Rugby's got a policy around that. They have to play some domestic rugby before they come back in, and I agree with that. So is it perfect for us? No, I'd love players to play here all the time. But in some ways we've been able to use a necessary evil in some ways to get a long-term benefit, which is we are seeing guys use that. We're seeing experienced players use that as a chance to freshen up, and I guess there's something to do with a bank account, but it's also we are seeing some long-term commitments to New Zealand after that, which has proven pretty beneficial.
Mills, we're seeing it more and more now, players taking that opportunity. It looks as though Patrick Tuipulotu is going to do that as well. He's going to spend next Super Rugby season. That's going to be played in Japan. Is this just the nature of what we're dealing with right now? Is that why maybe our relationship with Japan needs to be really, really strong? Because these are some of our very best players, our high-level players going into their environment, and this needs to be managed really well.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you heard Fozzie talk about the financial sort of gains that they get out of that, and obviously, a lot less sort of physicality. But I think that's probably the main bit. The guys can go away, earn a bit more without needing to go away to somewhere like...
It's not just a bit more though, right? It's significant in a lot of cases.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to... We just can't make that amount of money here. It's 3 to 4 times more than they'd ever make in 6 months. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, we're talking about our guys that we want to... Our leaders that we want to keep on for a wee while. Now, it would be a bit concerning if they were giving it to the Finlay Christies of the world and say, hey, you go away on a sabbatical. They wouldn't... I mean, they wouldn't want to go, but that's the cream that we don't want leaving. We don't want those. So they've got to manage both sides, and this is where money sort of comes into it. But in terms of where our leaders are, you have to give them that opportunity, otherwise they're never going to stick around.
I think the important thing for me, JK, is that we see a commitment to our game long term. That a lot of these guys, the ones that are taking it, are signing on for New Zealand Rugby for 2 to 3 years. That gives us some security, right? The fact that they are going to come back and contribute. It's when you get situations when they are off contract completely, and there may be other players who take this opportunity. So I think, like I say, we need to be very careful about where we go with this, right?
Oh, well, for me, I think always we're forgetting the fan, right? We're not fan-centric in our game anymore, and I think that's a big concern. If I was the player, I'd be doing exactly the same, so don't get me wrong, I'd be taking a sabbatical. But we need some really clear rules, right? So the TJ thing, I thought he was gone, and then he's back, you know. I knew that Retallick and Barrett were going because we need to retain them because they're going to get 3 times as much in France. I get that. It's a financial sabbatical. But at some stage, when is the fan just going to get disinterested? I mean, Patrick, for a Blues fan, is our man, right? And I'm sure he's not going to miss the All Black season. He's going to miss the Blues season. So we just got to be a little bit careful that we're not making the fan disinterested because, you know, I spoke to a couple of kids on the plane the other day and, you know, who's your favourite player? Oh, Beauden Barrett, you know. And if these guys leave, then we just need to set some rules around it. So we go, OK, you're leaving on these terms. Yep. Good, we get it. OK, you're coming back, but you're signing a long-year deal. Don't come to me in 2 years' time and say, oh, no, I'm off again. Because at some stage we've got to go, you guys need to make as much money as you can, and I'm all for that. I would have done exactly the same. But also, where does the fan sit? How do we organise our seasons so that, you know, Super Rugby is going to be irrelevant if we're not careful, like NPC is starting to become irrelevant. And we need to be really careful that we start thinking about, does the Silver Lake deal... Oh, should I said it, sorry. We've been keeping...
You said you weren't going to bring that up. You weren't going to bring that up.
You know, is that going to change things? Do we need different ways to keep our players? Should there be, I don't know, a property pool that you go into as All Blacks that keeps you here so you earn extra money? Because they are trying to earn as much money as they can in 10 or 12 years to look after the whole of their life. So I get that, but...
Can we change tack a little bit then? Let's talk about the squad as a whole. And you talk about the guys who have maybe missed out on the fact their performances. Ethan de Groot, I think, has done a really nice job.
Well, only one missed out, mate. Everyone else.
Yeah, everyone else is in there. Yeah, I get that. But I think all of them are impressed in some way. But also, I think some players, Mills, will maybe on notice of the fact where they sit right now, and with these bigger test matches coming up, the Rugby Championship, guys that maybe didn't hit the mark in their 1 or 2 chances in these 3 tests, all of a sudden they'll know exactly where they sit. Oh, I think it's an exciting group. Yep. The potential's there. This is a group that we see doing very well in the Rugby Championship, right? Absolutely,
and I think Iain Foster and co would have a big smile on their faces in terms of the new guys they've introduced, you know, the debutants, because I think they had an outstanding sort of the last 3 weeks. When you look at the guys now, you know, vying for like those 1 to 23 positions, some of them probably have missed the boat and they're probably a little bit disappointed because you heard him. He said, you know, the Bledisloe is the big cup. That's what we want to retain. So he's going to take his best team out there, you know, the best 23, to make sure that we retain that and then start rotating. So perhaps for some guys, I think, well, am I going to get a chance in the championship to be able to get another opportunity, and what does that look like? So for some of those 3 weeks, you know, and there's some hotly contested positions. You know, you're talking about the back 3 and even the midfields, you know, and also, you know, the back 3 in the scrum. So some guys will be disappointed, but I was really impressed with the debutants. So I think in terms of the way they've come on, outstanding.
Yeah, really good squad. I think it's an outstanding squad. Agreed, I thought it was outstanding. He's got a bit of mongrel in him, you know. He's into it.
I like him.
But it's over. This is Bledisloe Cup. The hardest thing for Fozzie is that all Black coaches have to win on the way to getting to the World Cup. So, you know, we need to win the championship. We need to win the Bledisloe Cup, because that's exactly what we expect. So that's tough. But I like the mix. I think there's a good mix of young and old. Good bit of enthusiasm coming through, and, you know, we've all been older All Blacks, and that's what you want. You want the young guys nipping at your heels.
And I like the fact we saw a response from week 2 and week 3. The fact they got challenged down in Dunedin, they went to Hamilton. Fiji showed up once again and were very physical, but we lifted our game, as Iain Foster has talked about. Well, It's Byrne's favourite part of the show, and JK's on a roll. He is on a trivia roll.
Is he what?
Exactly, all of a sudden, I'm wondering whether the questions are starting to get angled towards him.
Really?
A little bit of favouritism, I think Mills is going on.
We went back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Went back to the 80s.
You've got Jim Kay's in his pocket, right? Jim's doing the research. You got a text just before, and I reckon it's the answer.
Yeah, I'm paying for it, though. Like,
It's costing you. Professional.
And we're not talking folding
Professional
either, we're talking all
trivia.
of this one.
Professional trivia.
You're going for the three-peat. The
Really?
hat-trick this week. Yeah, you've got 200. And look, speaking of young and old, the young has arrived to address the old. This is trivia with an age kind of bracket on it. So you may be in the money again, JK. Don't like to say that. Who is, come on, everyone at home, help us out. Who is the oldest All Black in the modern era?
what's modern?
Define modern era.
Yeah.
Okay, we already have a
modern era.
protest, so ponder that. 95
professional.
onwards, okay?
Professional.
Yeah, so professionalism. All right, so have a little think. Our producer said, I think this is getting too easy. But it's easy when you have the answer, which you do not have, because I know you haven't checked your text message recently. All right, so who's the oldest All Black
Do you
in
want
the
me to answer
modern
now?
era? No, hold that thought.
Wait.
Get thinking, and while you do soak up the very best of the FPC action from the weekend.
Love the girls, just excited for a good season.
Looking for change. No, I'm not gonna fade. You ain't letting me play.
Brooker trying to find some inroads. Brooker breaks away.
Yeah, make something out of nothing there, Brooker.
That's a wonderful piece of play. Well, you almost wondered whether it was going to stick.
We wouldn't have picked this scoreline at the beginning of the match.
Wouldn't you? Okay.
Welcome back to Breakdown, and you're not going to believe what Jeff Wilson just said to me. I haven't had time to think about the question. What's
Well, I
the
just
answer?
assumed JK.
Just tell me.
I assumed JK. Well, you run the question again. What is it?
Who is, and this is
modern
from,
era,
this
the
is from
oldest
95 on, all right? Yeah, who's the oldest All Black in the modern era? So, you know, it's not altogether impossible. We have a little stab in the dark.
Well, Kevin Mialamu played for like forever.
OK, so that's your guess.
I'll
So we're
say-
going to go
I'll
this
say
way. We're going to go
Kevy.
left to
Yeah,
right to
I'll
build up
say
to the
Kevy.
crescendo
Oldest.
of JK taking 3 in a row. So, Kevin Mialamu, Mills, what do you reckon?
Oh, no, it's Brad Thorne.
Who, Frank Bunce? I like that guess. JK?
That was my answer.
Brad Thorne?
I can confirm it's neither of those, so we've got the crack.
Brad Thorne?
I have no idea.
He was really old.
I have no idea.
Take that one.
Brad Thorne?
Brad Thorne.
Yes, JK!
Oh, no, I said it. You all heard me say it. They heard me in the back say it louder.
You can't
I
have
said
two
it.
answers.
I don't know. I said Brad Thorne.
I
Do
thought it
not
was
drop
Frank
the
Bunce.
bottom
How
lip.
old was he?
Check
careful.
this out. Brad Thorne
And then
at
I said Kevy.
36 years old, 262 days, but
Wow.
Mialamu and Bunce both on the list. so I
Buncey
reckon-
lied.
So hold on.
Buncey lied.
Check this passport.
It's still Buncey. He was 35 when he made the All Blacks. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's outstanding. I'm going to rewind it back, though. Everyone heard me say it. I'm sure they heard me say it. Look, and Byrne, you'll be happy about this. I was enjoying my time so much in Hamilton. I kept Iain Foster chatting and asked if we've ever had so much internal competition for places and how much pressure does that put on his selection team?
Yep. Oh, it has, you know, and kind of got to remind people a little bit that we've got a lot of players that haven't played over 10 tests at the moment, and we've got a lot of guys that have, between last year and this year, that we've introduced that are still learning a little bit about the demands of test rugby. But the good thing about the last series is that we're seeing guys actually take their opportunity and they look quite good and comfortable in that space. So admittedly there's some big tests to come, and you know it's a bit different playing here in a Steinlager series versus Ellis Park or Twickenham or France, and so we've still got a lot of learning to go with some of our players.
Specialists versus versatility.
It's definitely specialists. 2021, we're trying to build the best depth in each position. You want someone to be at a test level, battle hardened in one position, and the fact that they can cover another one is actually just an advantage, particularly when you get closer to a World Cup tournament where your squad size is extremely limited. So you talk about Rico, for example, he wants to be a specialist at 13, and so that's his challenge. We've gone with him. I've certainly seen some really good growth for him at 13 in the last campaign, and then he goes and plays 40 minutes like he did on the wing. So he's probably still an international winger, and he's but he's making big strides as an international centre. So you call him whatever you like, but he's pretty good at both.
The search for the game plan, is it plan A, plan B? How much time do you spend on that adaptability of your game?
We left the World Cup that we felt that that if teams attacked us physically, particularly through our set piece, that it disrupted our game, and that seemed to be the formula the last couple of years before that. So last year there was a real focus on improving our set piece and improving the consistency of it, and not only on our ball but actually using it a bit more as a weapon. And we're still not a natural kicking team, and yet we kick well. They're the main components that you're playing around with, and the rest of the stuff is variation on game plans and strategy, which I guess is pretty specific to who you're playing the next week.
What's the pressure for you that you feel as an All Black coach?
The biggest pressure is from within inside your camp, because we demand from our players that they operate at the highest level. We demand a massive commitment to their skill level, to how they go about things, their rehab, their preparation, and quite frankly, when they go out in the park now, it's a tough old game. So we need people 100% in, and the flip side is they demand the same out of us as coaches and management, and so every day you're getting up and making sure we're doing a great job for this particular group of people, and I love that. You know, there's a lot of external noise in this job. There always is, and part of me likes that too, because you know we've got a lot of passion, and if someone didn't like you 5 years ago, then they can't say they're wrong and suddenly start liking you 5 years later. So you're going to get the constant noise around you in everything you do. The key is not to get distracted from it or to start sulking about it. It's just to enjoy the job that you're doing. And right now, the job itself, the people that I work with, generates enough pressure to keep me busy.
You are at the moment. You are, dare I say it, coaching for your future. I mean, does that make things challenging as well?
Well, it wouldn't be my desired situation, and you have to ask New Zealand Rugby about that. But the fact is that as an All Black head coach, your job is to look at the here and now, and also to look at the future. This
is some sort of next couple of months you've got in front of you. Is this where you're going to really find out where All Black Rugby and this team sits going forward? It's
hard to explain, but you know, look, and I've talked to the players about it, is that you can go through Super Rugby, you can lose a couple of games, win a trophy, and everyone thinks you're outstanding. In the All Blacks, you can go through a championship, win a trophy, lose a couple of games, and no one remembers the trophies. So what we've got ahead of us is a whole lot of individual test matches, and every test match we've got to be at our best, and that's our focus. And the consequence of that is, you know, when you look through 3 against Aussie, 2 against Argentina, 2 against South Africa, you couldn't want anything more, could you?
3 weeks between test matches, that's what you're talking about, JK. These are important 3 weeks in terms of preparation, break, because then they've got a really intense period. Listen to Fozzie talking there. It seems as though he's got a difficult job on his hands. He has to focus on the here and now, but it's great to see he's got an eye on what he needs to try and prepare for in 2023, if he's the man in charge.
Well done, mate. Great interview. It's really good. I really enjoyed it.
That's on him, though. He was awesome to deal with.
Yeah,
really open and honest.
Yeah, he was fantastic, but you asked the right questions, and I think a couple of those things I've been thinking about, and I actually don't mind if they lose some test matches. I don't think it's healthy to get to the World Cup without really being tested and learning. Our goal is now what? Yeah, we want to win. So that was interesting what Fozzie said, Millsy, about, you know, last year they were really criticised, but they brought home the cups that they wanted to. And I actually don't mind that. We want competition. And if we can get to the next World Cup and win it because we've been through adversity, Richie Mo'unga needs to go through adversity at this level. You know, he's been through it the last time.
Didn't they go through that in 2019, though? They've sort of been through that, Mills. I mean, what I was interested in, I don't know if you read it, but John Hart came out and talking about the fact that we need to let Iain Foster go about his job.
Yeah.
Get the ability to just focus on what he's doing. It sounds as like he's doing that, but obviously the next two, the Bledisloe Cup and the Rugby Championships, are going to be key for where he's going forward.
He's been here a very long time, so you know he's got that experience in terms of the group, but from a co-coach point of view. You know, you had that adversity last year in terms of, you know, they won the trophies, but it's always been like that. And perhaps, you know, himself as a coach didn't realise it until you're in the hot seat, and that, you know, you might lose a couple, but, you know, no one remembers the trophies. And I think he's learnt from that. I think now he's got to understand, he's got to go out there and go, well, what's my style? What do I need to get the best out of these players in terms of the style that I want to play? And he's got a good group, but it's about bringing them together. And so when he says things like that, he's talking about making sure the set piece. I've always thought that was, for us, really, it was always a sort of hallmark of our game, making sure we got that right. So perhaps they went a little bit different in terms of making sure they're more mobile on the back end of that, you know, the Rugby World Cup when we in 2019. So I think he's probably possibly found his feet now. He's looking to the future, but it's about implementing it now and keeping guys happy.
Yeah, look, I think the whole noise stuff is just, I mean, it's the second most important job in the country, right? And there's always going to be noise. If it's not razor breathing down your neck, you win by 15 points and it's not a good performance. I mean, it's just the way it goes in this country. Like I say, all of us know the game well enough to have an opinion on it. We don't have to select the team, we don't have to coach it, and he does. There's always going to be that noise, but I actually like the way he's going about it this time. Did we get out-muscled in the World Cup, and are we going to go out and try and out-muscle, or are we just going to run them around and just react better to the pressure? Like, it was a bit like that first Fijian test. When you looked at that final, we got a little bit surprised with the intensity. And I remember McCaw saying, you know, you've got to go to, or even Foxy or someone said, you've got to go to Everest 3 times. So are we going to practice this year actually playing the same team for 3 weeks in a row and getting in, you know? So you can't, it seems that in the World Cup you can't get up for a big semi-final or quarter-final like we didn't, you know? So do we practice that this year? There's a lot to talk about, but it seems that he's, he's pretty comfortable with where he's at, which is good.
Winning Rugby World Cups is about winning 3 big test matches in a row. That's what you get, quarters, semis and finals. What is it for the All Blacks coming up? Let's have a look at the schedule. Now, normally we play 3 Bledisloe Cups in a season, and the third one is played in October. We're starting with it this year, OK? So it's going to be the first test match at Eden Park. That's test number 1. The next 2 are part of the Rugby Championship. That is followed over in Perth, and then it's in Wellington, then the Rugby Championship. It continues. Yes, the first is actually the third, JK. Let's not...
So it's the decider, is it?
Well, it could be. It could be the decider. But then Argentina, South Africa, South Africa. So there's so much to look forward to, you think, at Eden Park. That game at Eden Park in the game at Forsyth Bar in Dunedin will be their 100th test match between the All Blacks and South Africa. That'll be massive. And then it'll be a South African home game at Eden Park. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And, of course, that's on the back of a Lions series. Let's line things up.
Hang on a second. If it's their home game, do they get our changing room?
Oh, how would I know that?
No, that's
all I know is that the North Shore is going to flood across that bridge.
No, but you do not want to be playing. We have never been beaten at Eden Park since I lost.
They won't get your fancy baths and all those sort of things the home team has. The Blues.
No, if it's their home game, they get our number 1 changing room.
Well,
you know how bad that is?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
No, that's bad.
Welcome in. I want him here. Come on, Byrne. Come on, Byrne.
He's going to be complaining about the price of chips again, isn't he?
They are expensive.
Good chips, though, when you need them.
It's always those who can afford it, always complain about the little things. All right, so let's have a quick burn around the world. He had every reason to smile after making a return from injury, scoring tries and setting them up, but Ardie Savea's Chompers were without a mouthguard in the AB's victory against Fiji on Saturday. Again, the uncompromising number 7 was in the spotlight last year for exactly this demeanour. It was news to Iain Foster when he was asked about it. And while it's not a World Rugby rule to wear a mouthguard, it is part of the New Zealand Rugby Players Agreement. Hope he's got a good dentist. Another high-profile player is Japan-bound, it seems. No, not D-Mac, but stand by for that one. But Blues captain Patrick Tuipulotu, he's believed to be heading to Japan to play for Toyota Verblitz. It's not long-term. Paddy's signed up to remain in New Zealand until 2023, the World Cup then, and he's got a long-term contract with the Blues franchise. Solid win for the British and Irish Lions, beating the Stormers 49 points to 3. Now, this is their last warm-up game before the business end, the first test against the Springboks this weekend. Welcome to Pool D, Manu Samoa. They've cemented their spot in the 2023 Rugby World Cup after holding off a rugged Tongan side 37 points to 15 in the second and final leg of their qualifier in Hamilton at the weekend. They'll continue to grow and build. They'll have to. They're in slick company in Pool D with England, Argentina and Japan. But not all is lost for Tonga. They have 2 more shots at qualifying if they beat the Cook Islands this weekend or the winners of the Asia Rugby Championship. Tonga's match this weekend live on Sky. Now, who needs 15 men? The Aussies held off a focused and fiery French side only just, though, with 14 men for 75 minutes on Saturday to claim their second win in the 3-test series. It was an absolute thriller. The Aussies off the hook by 3 points, but it was marred and tarred with controversy. Marika Korombete with a red card for this, just 5 minutes into the game on the French skip. And caused a bit of reaction. Listen to Mertz go.
Tim, I'll go further, and from an objective viewpoint, even though I'm living in Australia, that's an absolute travesty, and we need to hear more about this. They painted themselves into a corner by saying it was foul play and by saying there was no mitigation, and I think they're wrong on both counts.
Yep, he has said this is wrong. He said we need to talk about it, and Dave Rennie, he did.
Yeah, we're disappointed that the French lay down on a couple of those situations to try and bring the ref into the game, and there were certainly 2 clear times where Collier, when he scored his try, forearm straight to the throat of Tate McDermott, and Tate doesn't lie down and bring the ref's attention to it, and because we don't want to do that sort of thing, it's not the spirit of the game, and likewise, Hunter Paisami copped one in the jaw. So, I guess frustrating that we ended up having to play with 14, but really proud of the character the boys showed.
Very proud of this team, Dave Rennie. So the Aussies claiming the series, the French winning the Academy Award. So is Dave Rennie right?
I think a number of people right on a number of fronts there, JK. It's a matter of where do you start, and he's been drawing, JK. This is perfect. This is not a pack and save. This is not a pack and save ad. This is not a pack and save ad.
Can you see that? So, take the decision out of the referee's hands. If you look at, I've looked at all those footage. This was Damien McKenzie. Right? He was upright and made a mistake. This was Korombete on the weekend, where he's coming upwards, right?
So watch Damien McKenzie here.
See, he's upright. That's just bad technique, OK? So he's upright. I don't think it was... And you can't do that, right? So the second one is Korombete, who's actually... can you come a bit closer? I can't see that. Can you see that at home? There it is. So if you look at this from behind, he is actually... on a 45 angle going up, right? So that's a no, but it's a yellow card, not a red card. Now, the bottom one is actually where the players need to get.
My back is getting sore looking at that, mate.
So here's an example.
Hammies are gone.
Right. He starts slipping, boom. Look, go back. See, perfect technique. It doesn't look fantastic, but he's slipping into it. And that's a yes, right? So if we actually take the decision away from the ref, if we look at all those things, we can actually work it out on an angle point of view. And the last bit I wrote down the bottom was no Muppet diving from that French. So he should get a week. He should get a week for being
from the ultimate. One of the great football fans is what you are. I mean, but that's what we're grumpy about. You see that in the fact we just don't want that in our game.
No, he's got to get banned.
I mean, and Dave Rennie talked about the fact that guys being, like they were hit by a sniper, right? There's all of a sudden they're going down and grabbing. I mean, that's just, it's unacceptable. And all of a sudden we're confusing things. I come back to this, though. World Rugby backed themselves into a corner, Mills, by removing the 20-minute red card. Yeah. So you don't even give your referees an opportunity to slightly get it wrong and then protect themselves. They remove that, and then all of a sudden a team gets punished.
But listen, my point, though, guys, is we have the technology. You can't tell me that we can go to the video footage now and actually work it out from a technical point of view. If you're on that angle, you're OK. If you're not, you're not. And it makes it easier, I believe. And we've got the technology to do it. Why don't we use it? Because we're leaving it over to the referees. And look, the poor referees, he's in a heated moment. Yeah. He's got, he's got the Muppet rolling around on the ground like he's dead. And then he's got the captains coming in, that's red, and the other guys going, no, it's yellow. So the poor guy's under pressure. It should just go up to TMO and they should look at the angles, make...
Well, they need a conversation around it, don't they? It seems like they've just gone in there and said anything that's hit the head, you're gone, red card. They need sort of stick figures like JK's ones to actually go through them and say, well, here are the mitigating factors. Has he got? Is he on the 45? Is he low enough? Okay, well, perhaps it's even the red card thing. take them off and then replace them later. 20 minutes is still a long time, but when you've made a decision based on that, what you're talking about, JK, in terms of the heat of the moment, they have enough on their minds. I just think they've thrown the referees under the bus and sort of said to them, perhaps on the day, anything on the head, you're gone. And that's what's happened. And so I kind of feel for them that way.
Well, this is the first time on the breakdown we're going to go to the TMO. We're going to go to the CMO. Let's have a look at this, at what happened just after the break. Let's just have a wee listen. Well, Kevin Mialamu played for like forever.
OK, so that's your guess. So we're going to go this way. We're going to go left to right to build up to the crescendo of JK taking 3 in a row. So Kevin Mialamu, Mills, what do you reckon?
Oh, no, it's Brad Thorne.
Who? Frank Bunce? I like
Hold
that.
on. You heard me say it.
You can't
it's Brad
guess
Thorne.
twice.
Hold on. But you said you had a second answer.
Twice.
I actually then... And then I
You're
actually...
banned. You're off. You're out.
But then I actually gave you the answer and then you got it wrong after.
You broke the rules.
I didn't break the rules.
You broke the rules. You had 2 answers.
Pick up your bottom lip. It's a red card
Plus
for
Frank
you,
Bunce
Jeff.
lied.
Oh, you come back in and do the club news, please, Bernie.
Frank Bunce is older than
It's a final
that.
decision. I said Brad Thorne. Everyone heard me say it. I know
It doesn't matter. It's
I actually
the
got
rules.
the top 2.
It's the
I said
rules,
double
mate.
points. I've got double points.
We don't win anything, Goldie.
Ooh, the bottom lip. It's wiping the floor at the moment. Right, we're going to be out of time. Wonder how many cards were handed out at Club Rugby over the weekend. Perhaps a few to the spectators, or those who didn't do too well at quiz night. Let's do a rip around the country now with some of the best action. South Canterbury final, firstly, and Temuka smashed Harlequins 33-3. Sione Osamu, one of the try scorers for Temuka. Oh, nice little chip. Oh. And he takes it, and he's away. Beautiful. And he's happy about that. Like a Fabio, isn't it?
Good lid too.
Exactly. My part of the country and the mighty Waikato final saw Ho Tapu play Fraser Tech. Winger Tom Mauva getting in on the action, but it wasn't enough to stave off Fraser Tech, who won the match by 3, 13 points to 10 the final score. And in the Counties Monaco final, Karaka relied on their wingers against Ardmore Marist. They rocked up 33 points to Marist's 19. And thanks to our friends at Grassroots Rugby for the very cool picks. Oh, that's some style in the air.
I always love the late dive. The guy comes diving in like afterwards thinking he's made a difference.
Now, this is cool if you like celebrations. This is a lesson on celebrating. Mercury Bay on the Coromandel showing how to really utilise a whiteboard with best effect. Beating Thames, winning the Thames Valley comp. Get a load of this, it's awesome. And that is how it is done. The future certainly looks very, very bright. Our New Zealand under-20 team played the Cook Islands at Dilworth School in Auckland this weekend. It was epic. Check it out.
It's the last game of the New Zealand 20s campaign, and we're here at Dilworth, 12 p.m. on a Saturday. All Blacks and Fiji are playing tonight, so we're really excited to be part of a tropical weekend of rugby.
The New Zealand under-20 starting off the match with some early ball. The Cook Islands on the back foot. The New Zealand under-20s have completely pushed them off the ball. A penalty try early, 7-0. The forward pack completely muscling up, shunting Cook Islands off the ball. Now they maul again. They pile forward and it's a try. Harry Press going over from the maul. All the possession, all the territory early for the under-20s. They look to burrow in underneath them, showing their muscles early in this one. Harry Press from the pick and go. He's bundled under them. He's over. 21-0 the score. Now Harry Godfrey on the kick return. Takes it up nicely, beating a few. Out to Aidan Morgan. He sees some space and puts in a nice weak kick over for Michael Manson. He gets a toe to it, recollects. Excellent try. New Zealand under-20s out to 28-0 now. Here comes Harry Press. Gavigan. The tight forwards showing some skill. Quick ball, Morgan, long, over the top. It'll be Gideon Rampling who sets it out to 35-0 into the second half. Manu Paia takes a quick tap, finds Morgan on his shoulder. Aidan Morgan. They need quick ball, Paia. Now Corey Evans, beautiful pass over the outstretched hand into Godfrey, and he'll go over. 42-0. They're running riot here, the under-20s. The young upstarts. Paia, he's made an impact coming off the bench. Over to Corey Evans. Godfrey steps inside. Nice offload. Back to Evans. Oh, he dances past the last defender. And Corey Evans, the Auckland midfielder, goes over. Fabian Holland, the big towering lock, goes into contact. They go blind. Hasty. Morgan, big fend. Aidan Morgan just shoves him away and sends in Tupaia Cook-Savage under the sticks. It's 52-0. Hasty, Nathan Hasty from the back. Out to Higgins. He cuts through them. Nice step back to Lakai. Lakai to Hasty. And Nathan Hasty will go over, extending their lead. It's 59-0. New Zealand under 20s. What a showcase this has been for the next generation of New Zealand rugby talent. They're going to push over from the maul here. Great set-piece try. The under-20s want to finish with a flourish. Hasty sees space blind. And Satiti will go over. And the game is over. The New Zealand under-20s taking the win over Cook Islands. 73-0.
Yeah, nice.
The All Blacks' second test against Fiji. And for the big night, Aaron Smith thought he'd wear a skivvy. Looks good. He looks like the sixth member of the Commodores, but he looks good. Big night for Sevu Reece. 3 tries, 2 kisses. One from a Fijian player, the other one from a ball. And he got a down trowel. I particularly like this. Coach John Plumtree giving the bones. Brad Weber shapes up for a handshake, but then has to readjust because Plumtree's all like, nah, dog, we're all bones around here. Boom! The best way to see the difference in resources between the two teams is checking out the coaches' boxes. The All Blacks box looks like the bridge on the Star Trek Enterprise. And the Fijian box, wow, looks different, doesn't it? Don't know who the All Blacks banana guy is, though. Check out those manky little things. Surely they can do better than that. But the night wasn't about bananas, it was all about physicality.
And physicality.
Physicality. Physicality.
Physicality. Physical.
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 Physical. Physical.
Physical. And that was off the ball this week.
That's really... Did you escape that? You escaped that, didn't you? You always escape that. Oh, gosh. We shouldn't forget the Olympics are just around the corner, and one of her very own. And, well, Ricky Swanell, she was swanning around the world here at Sky. She's actually swanning around the world now. You're in Tokyo. Outstanding. Everything looks great. How are you feeling? What's the environment like over there right now? I can see a couple of people in the background there. You're staying well clear. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, team. Yes, quite literally have gone swanning around the globe, which after sort of 18 months, almost 2 years, has been a little bit strange. We are very much keeping our distance. I'm obviously not wearing my mask at the moment, but Roop's here on the tech and he's got his on. Don behind the camera's got his on, and the very few people who are in the stadium have theirs on as well. Of course, stadium's just getting set up, really. They're going through all the tech checks and all the run-throughs and all of those kind of things. But, yeah, look, it's been a very interesting few days. A lot of hand sanitising, mask wearing, a lot of fried chicken has been eaten already, it must be said, and it is stinking hot. It's still about 38 degrees and we're 6:15 at night, as you can probably tell. Not my optimal conditions, but it's good to be here, it has to be said.
Ricky, do you feel safe? It's JK. Do you feel safe? Like, I know that before you were leaving, talking about going from a bus to the ground, back to the hotel, you know, how do you feel? You feel okay?
Yeah, I must say the first few days we were here it was pretty quiet. I've noticed the last maybe 2 days and particularly today things are a little bit busier and we've started to become just a wee bit more conscious. Like I ain't getting into a lift with anyone but our Sky crew now. Lots more sanitising, being really aware of social distancing and that sort of stuff, just because people are coming from so many different countries where their COVID situation is not like ours and it's not as good as ours. And so I think for us, you know, we are getting temperature checked every day. We get tested. We've been tested 4 times already, and we can get tested every day if we want. It's a bit gross. It's a bit of drooling into a little tube. But at the moment, yeah, I feel safe, but I feel like the last day or so, my senses have sort of been a bit more heightened around that safety and security stuff.
Ricky, it's Mills here, but you talk about that. I mean, everything's really different. For the athletes that are going to come in now, we're talking particularly about our own athletes, what's that going to look like? Because the pictures that we're getting, obviously everyone in Japan has to stay home. So is that something they're going to have to adapt to, and is it what you expected?
Yeah, it's going to be completely different for the athletes, Millsy. It's they're only allowed in 5 days before the start of their competition. So right now, over the weekend, the football ferns came into the New Zealand village. The hockey teams have arrived. The swimmers are here. David Nika, our boxer, is in. But it's very small groups, and you know, usually they'd be coming in en masse. The first Sevens crew, the Sevens men, arrive tomorrow. The women don't come till Thursday, just because of their playing competition is a few days later. But yeah, like this stadium behind me, which is absolutely beautiful. The All Blacks played here during Rugby World Cup. It's going to be empty, and it is such a shame that this is not going to be filled with roaring crowds. And so I guess, however, whichever athletes adapt to that don't have to feed off the energy of a crowd, well, it could be a really big factor in how they cope mentally and then how they perform. But certainly a completely different game to anything I've ever experienced, and I'm sure for the other athletes as well.
And lastly, Ricky, and that's where our Sevens team are hopefully going to be chasing gold medals.
Yep, exactly right. So this is the Sevens venue, as I said, football firstly, but yeah, the New Zealand men, they're going to be into it on Monday. Of course, a bit of news out of Sevens lately is that the Springboks, or the Blitzbokker coach, Neil Powell, has contracted COVID. He won't be allowed to coach his team. He'll have to do it remotely. And of course, the Blitzbokker are one of the real contenders. But this is where the Sevens teams will be, the men from Monday, the women from next Thursday. So fingers crossed they're going to get in here over the course of the next week. And yeah, fingers crossed for a couple of medals, hopefully a couple of gold ones from the stadium.
Thanks, Ricky. Stay safe. We look forward to catching you up with you when everything gets kicking off in Tokyo. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Looks happy, looks safe. I'll tell you what's interesting. Just before we go quickly, 4 a.m. Sunday, guess what? Lions to win. Lions to win?
Yeah, I think so.
Lions to win. I'll tell you what, I'll take South Africa. World Cup champions coming all the way. Just to be different. Just to be different. I said Brad Thorne too. I said Brad Thorne. We'll see you next week.
Tēnā koutou, Nisa Bulavanaka, and welcome to the heart of the mighty Waikato as the All Blacks in Fiji lock horns at FMG Stadium in Hamilton. Back down by Whitelock, now Savia. Away for Havili, finding space, oh beautiful, beautiful pass, and Sevu Reece.
Just a little flick out the back, Sevu Reece goes in.
Slings it away, and here's another one. It's a hat-trick for Sevu Reece, and that one was a gift.
And that has got the Fijian fans on their feet.
Now Savia, Adi Savia in test number 50 scores a try. Takiaho still hanging on, still driving, and Takiaho